And greetings to all of the queens who are tuned in to the Always a Queen, the Metamorphosis broadcast today. And of course, to the kings as well. We can never forget you. So, greetings to all the queens and the kings who are tuned in for this afternoon's live broadcast. Thank you so much for being here. And you know what? Let me go ahead and also greet all the people who are going to be listening to the replay. I know that some of you are watching us live right now, but I'm going to go ahead and put in a greeting for those persons who are going to be watching this next week, next month, next year, and all of the times that it will be watched over and over and over, because something tells me people are going to be watching this broadcast for a long time to come. And that's what this is about. Download it, share it, send it, do all of the things, because this is going to be a really, really important conversation. Really important. It's so important, as a matter of fact, that I was just telling Keisha just before we came on here that I'm feeling like, you know, that I'm not going to say the N word that she told me not to say, but I feel the burden of bringing this message to you today. It's so important. Um, so I am going to allow my distinguished guest to introduce herself to you, tell you who she is and what she does, and then we're going to go straight into this afternoon's conversation, which is entitled Fibroids and Trauma. What is the link? All right. So, Keisha, go ahead and greet the folks.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful introduction. I am so pleased and excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this all week. And just to say a bit about myself, as you said, my name is Keisha MacDonald. I'm an attorney at law and wellness advocate by profession. I'm also into vegan food preparation. But I came into the work of healing or helping women to heal their wombs, encouraging them to heal their wombs through my own battle and survival with a whopping 40 centimeter fibroid, which I took me to the hospital. It made me anemic. It made me extremely depressed. It made me paralyzed for at one point in time. And through searching for the answers, not willing to accept the answers that was given, refusing to settle and to compromise with my health, refusing to part ways with my womb, I set about to research, study, interview, ask questions about this fibroid crisis that we see among so many women in general, but particularly Black women. And I was able to, through patience, consistency, dedication, to heal myself naturally. And so, because of my journey, I decided, um, like Coffee said, Jah give me the glory and told me to tell you my story. So I felt it was my duty to share my story, become as vulnerable as it is, show all my before pictures in my horrific state, my raw, vulnerable state, because I wanted to share my message with other women. So I created what is known as the Happy Womb Club. And the Happy Womb Club is a club dedicated to all women, heavy emphasis on Black women, but it is dedicated to all women, to provide a space to share knowledge, to share real information, expertise from different places, practical tips that women can use to heal their wombs naturally. And the reason why I kind of called it a Happy Womb Club is to get women to understand that no matter where your journey has taken you at this particular time, whether you have had children, you want to have children, you don't want to have children, you are entitled to have a happy womb. That is your birthright. That is your
Right.
feminine power. And that's what I'm here to teach women.
All right. Thank you.
You're
Are you
welcome.
hearing me clearly? Because I just switched my microphone.
I'm
I'm
hearing you
hearing,
very clearly.
okay, I'm hearing some feedback. I'm not sure if it is my mic, but um let's keep going. And I am one of the listeners just also posted in the chat that she's hearing a little feedback, but
Oh,
let's proceed. I'm thinking when both of our mics are on, that might be what is causing it, but
okay.
let's keep going. I want to take a moment to do two things. First thing I want to do is I want to make sure to underscore the fact that Keisha has a platform. She just mentioned it, but she mentioned it in passing, like she just slid over it. And I am going to make sure to underscore it for you. Her platform is called the Happy Womb Club. So I am encouraging you to follow her platforms on Instagram and also on TikTok, especially on TikTok. I was looking at some of your videos on TikTok and I was literally binging. Like I was just there, I was like, let me watch two videos. And the next thing you know, 2 hours had gone by. I was just binging, watching all the videos. So informative, so much information for free. Hello. So I'm putting in that plug there. The Happy Womb Club. That is the name of Keisha's platform. I am encouraging all of my followers and listeners to go follow her as well, because whatever you don't hear on this live broadcast today, you can hear it there because we don't have all night here. Obviously we will cover some things, but there are so many things in this topic that we could talk about, and there will not be time in the podcast to cover it all. We will cover what we are able to, but of course there is a wealth of information on her platforms that you can have access to. So please take advantage of the work that she's doing. Extremely valuable work. All right. So the next thing I want to do before I turn the microphone back over to Keisha is I want to take a moment to greet all of the people in the chat section. I don't know if you can see the chat section, but the chat section is already on fire and we haven't started the topic yet. So let me greet all of the people. Greetings to Emerald Jacobs, greetings Monique, Saran, all of the queens in the chat section. Patrice, Desiree, Alethea, I see you and thank you. Shay, Sia, oh wow, everybody. Thank you so much. They are sending us greetings in the chat. And I see somebody already sharing an experience. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it on the screen here. This is one of our queens, Monique. She says, I took out mine in 2016. Too much heavy bleeding, and also did a hysterectomy too because doctor said I would probably still have bleeding. So I asked him, what are my options? And he gave me two. So I just took the best option. This is the story of a lot of women that I know, including, which I have shared with you, women in my own family as well. My mother, and I know she doesn't mind me sharing this, my own mother. Monique's story was her story. My grandmother, my mother's mother, same story. So you see there's a pattern there. So you know what everybody's waiting to see happen. Because the pattern now lands on who? But I'm not even going to speak it. I'm not even going to speak it because we're not doing that, right? But here is where I want to take the conversation next. You just mentioned a 40 centimeter fibroid that you had, which you said at one point quite literally paralyzed you. You no longer have that 40 centimeter fibroid, but also you didn't have a hysterectomy. So I need you to tell us, how did you pull that off? Because inquiring minds want to know.
Um, you know, I have a saying that simple is not the same as easy. So the procedure that I used to get rid of my fibroid is very simple, but it was by no means easy. And I think we often conflate the two. So when I say simple, it was a matter of removing all the things from my lifestyle, from my diet, from my mind, from my spirit that was causing the blockage, causing the growth of the tumor, causing me to be sick. Removing all of those things and replacing them with things that would nourish, shrink, detox, cleanse, uplift, and rebuild my cells. That is the simple remedy in a nutshell. Now, of course, we can go into the names of the herbs, we can go into the practices like the castor oil packs, the sea salt baths that I took. All of those things are relevant, but ultimately, what it boiled down to was finding those particular things that were making my life and my body toxic. And when I came to the realization that it was that simple, then I committed myself to the process, which was by no means easy. It took a while. Um, some days were better than others. I experienced a lot of frustration because, like you said before, there wasn't at the time people sharing openly their 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 struggle with fibroids. I noticed that when I went public and my videos went viral, millions of views and likes, that suddenly I saw um, this overflow of videos of women talking about their fibroids. I never ever saw that before, and even in my circle, when I would raise the issue of my fibroid, I was made to feel like I was some kind of alien. I was some kind of weirdo because no one could fathom someone having a fibroid that large. No one could fathom anyone bleeding on end at their period for 10, 12 days. So I felt very alone and isolated. And in many ways, that pushed me to learn more and to come to a conclusion. And I never forget, I told you about my vegan restaurant. I had a guest there and we were just chatting. And she told me about her journey to becoming a herbalist. And I was telling her, oh, I have a fibroid, we should chat. And she looked at me and she said, a fibroid is one of the easiest things to get rid of. She just, there was something about the way she said it. She gave no details. She didn't elaborate. She just looked me in my eyes and said, it's the easiest thing to get rid of. And I said, really? And I'm over here struggling? And she didn't say much more. We exchanged digits and she never contacted me. I couldn't reach her afterwards. But I eventually came to understand for myself what she meant. And it was a blessing in disguise, I believe.
I want to pull out something that you said, which I think is really important. And this is me looking at it from the perspective of a psychologist. You said, before my videos started to go viral on social media, and I started talking about what was happening to me and this huge fibroid that I had sitting in my womb, I never heard anybody talking about fibroids. Never heard anybody talking about womb health. Period. That was not a thing that was prevalent on social media. Maybe people were talking about it in small pockets somewhere, but it wasn't prevalent. It wasn't the kind of thing that you would just randomly see in your news feed when you log on. Now it is perfectly normal for something like that to just scroll by in your news feed. Now, as a clinician, I think about this and the psychological underpinnings that lead to that, or that prevented it from happening sooner. I think about the shame that is associated with female issues, particularly issues that impact fertility. I think about all of the other implications of being ashamed of your fertility issues. I think about the self-esteem issues that a woman would walk around with. I think about low self-acceptance because popular culture states that your womanhood is directly linked to your fertility, or rather your ability to bear children. And so, am I even a woman if I am having fertility issues that, will possibly prevent me from becoming a mother? I think about how this is also linked to your value as a partner, because the male is searching out not just a partner, but a partner who can also continue his lineage. And so many implications. I can see how a woman could end up with very serious mental health issues as a result of female issues which have just not been addressed, because she's too embarrassed to address them, because they have the impact to literally change the entire trajectory of her life. Literally, and so this runs deep for a lot of people. It's bigger than, oh, I have this fibroid growing in my tummy. It's more of, oh my God, my value as a woman just got knocked down several notches. Like that is how many women receive this type of news. And I speak as a clinician who has actually worked with women who come in for a therapy session because a doctor just told them that they have fibroids. And that alone was enough to devastate them and cause them to spiral into clinical depression, because they have attached that already to their value as a woman in its entirety, as if their value as a woman does not also have to do with their contribution to society, their career, all of the other things that they are gifted to do in the world. Like, there's so much to you other than your ability to birth, you know? And so I feel like we need to talk about that. We need to talk about how me getting diagnosed with fibroids is going to just completely devastate me, not just because my periods will be heavy, but because I literally believe that at that point, my value as a woman just got it just hit the floor.
It's funny. You're absolutely right. Absolutely spot on. But I'll tell you a funny thing that used to happen to me, because of obviously it was so large, and my torso is pretty petite. So I looked pregnant for a long time. And so I was always bombarded with people asking me questions about my baby. Um, when is it due? They're so happy for me. And it got very noticeable um, shortly after I got married. So some people were rude about it, but some people were genuinely happy and didn't know how to hide, or didn't understand the social graces around not asking a woman about her pregnancy. And I got to a point where I started to agree. I found myself saying yes. It was so burdensome and it was so intrusive, because the minute you say I am not pregnant, even though you look pregnant, it invites a whole other conversation which takes you into realms that you may not be prepared to discuss with a near stranger. And people don't understand that. When you tell people, don't ask women if they're pregnant, unless you see me in the delivery room, don't ask me if I'm pregnant. People think that you're overreacting or you're being overly sensitive, but there's so many things that a woman can be going through that can be causing that, and you are inviting yourself into that internal private conversation that she may not be willing or ready to have with you. So that was a real thing that I faced, and I used to feel like I was going crazy, because then I would see them on another occasion. Like, oh, he's growing so well. It's a boy. It was horrible. It was horrible. But I must add, one of the things that we do, and we, even in this space, in the woman's healing space, we need to make a habit of not doing, is referring to womb issues as fertility issues. So when a man gets a diagnosis of erectile dysfunction or even prostate issues, no one says he has a fertility issue. He has a health issue. You have a health concern. A fibroid is a health concern. When we automatically call it a reproductive or fertility issue, which it is not, because many women have children while having fibroids. In fact, many women only discover that they have fibroids once they become pregnant. So it's not the same as a fertility issue, right? It's not one and the same. And when we keep calling it that, we fuel that fear that women have about speaking about their fibroid, because as you correctly said, we are uh, putting this box that our highest value as women is our ability to give birth, our ability to mother. And it's a very backward and foolish notion, because there are many ways to mother. And I'm not just talking about mothering children that don't belong to you. I feel like in many ways I mother the women that come to me for advice, whether they're younger or older than me. Your feminine mothering nature is not so limited as to what you physically push out of your vaginal canal. That's what makes womanhood so beautiful and special. So, not to undermine giving birth and pregnancy, but we have to widen our concept of the divine feminine and what we're here to ultimately do. Even your program, it's a form of mothering, to provide advice, support, being a part of the community. In ancient societies, women weren't discarded or seen as less valuable if they didn't have children. They were called to mother in other ways, right? Women, part of the feminine brain is that we are creative. We give birth to so many ideas, so many creations. That's the reason why the ultimate muse, the very definition of a muse to an artistic creator, is a woman, right? So that's part of how we create as well. And so we have to move away from this notion that our ultimate value lies in our ability to produce. And going back to that original comment that you read earlier about the hysterectomy, that's one of the underlining principles, if you will, that they use to pressure women to get hysterectomy. Because once you've passed a certain age, or once you express that you don't have a partner, you may not be interested in giving birth to any more children. Oh, well, just get rid of your womb. Your womb is clearly of no use to you. You see, so you would never say that to a man. You would never, even if a man said, I have no desire in having children, you wouldn't so flippantly say, okay, well, let's remove your testicles since you no longer need them. You would still try and find a way to heal whatever issue is going on in his testicle area. But with women, the hysterectomy, the insult of the hysterectomy is that if I choose not to have a child, or if I'm at the age where I no longer wish to have children, then my body parts become something that you can throw away and dismiss. I don't need to try and do the work of healing my womb because I'm of a certain age, or because I'm through having children, which is absolutely false. Your womb is like your second heart. It's the seat of your power. And many women can attest to the fact that once they do get a hysterectomy, so many things begin to go haywire. That's why the doctor has to put you on hormonal medication. Women get depressed, their bones weaken. You understand? They lose their sexual appetite. The quality of their life begins to deteriorate. So it's not simply about giving birth. Your womb is your vital organ. It brings life to your life. And we need women to understand this and stop letting doctors or people tell them that if you can't give birth, then just throw away your womb. It's not as simple as that. So that's a very important issue. And then also to that point is, you know, there's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of judgment surrounding sickness in general. Yes. So for me, I've been plant-based for years. So one of the first things I knew that I had to prepare myself was, oh, so you've been eating meat all this time and pretending, or you've been one of those garbage eating vegans eating French fries and fried tofu, because people don't understand the topic at hand, the relationship of trauma to fibroids.
That's a big one. That's and sensitive too. Sensitive because, and I'm sure we have some vegetarians and some vegans listening to us today. And I'm sure their ears just went, what did she say? Because truly, one of the first things that you are told when you're diagnosed with fibroids and you opt to not go the hysterectomy route, and you say to yourself, you know what, no, I'm going to do this naturally. I am going to heal my womb rather than remove my womb. And you start researching so that you can get on this holistic path to healing your womb. Not just your womb, but your entire body. Because if you are on a healing journey, it's a holistic healing journey. You're healing your entire body. One of the first things that you would typically see if you do a random search on the internet is plant-based lifestyle is the way to go. That's the most healthy route. Stop eating meat. No meat, no dairy, no sugar, no caffeine. And I can keep listing the things that I myself over the years have started scratching off of my list, right? Okay, Therese, we're going to take out that, we're going to take out that, we're going to take out the other, and then you discover over time that there are people like you, Keisha, who exist, people who haven't been eating meat or dairy or caffeine or any of those things for years and still end up with a 40 centimeter fibroid. And then you're like, so what am I doing here? What is going on? Right? And then you dig a little further and you realize, everything that happens to the mind also happens to the body. And no doctor talks about that. I, however, talk about it because I am a psychologist. I'm a different kind of doctor, right? But the doctor who you go to, typically for the healing of the body, is not going to sit you down and tell you whatever is happening to your mind is also happening to your body. So sometimes the path to healing is here and not necessarily here. That is a conversation that very few people have sat down at the table to have. And so I am inviting people to come to the table to talk about this, because if both the vegans and the non-vegans are getting fibroids. Where are the fibroids coming from? And why is it only happening in a certain portion of females? Why is it people that look like me and you are the ones that are getting these fibroids? That is a conversation we need to have.
You know, the thing is, there is a doctor. I don't know. I think he might be a psychologist as well. I'm not 100% sure, but you may be aware of him. Dr. Gabor Mate. He has a book called When the Body Says No, The Hidden
Yes.
Costs of Stress. And if the listeners aren't able to read it, they should at least familiarize themselves with the
Look at
concept.
this. Look at this comment from the chat section.
I can't read it. It's
Oh, it says
recommended
recommended reading
reading.
When the
Yes.
Body Says
Oh,
No
yes,
by Gabor
yes,
Mate. Game
yes,
changer for me on this
yes.
healing journey. So,
Absolutely,
so somebody is co-signing that you need to
absolutely,
read this book.
absolutely. And you can even just start with looking at some of his YouTube videos where he talks about um, different patients and different people with cancer and what their life looked like. Now, two things, two caveats. One, not all vegan diets are created equal, because the vast majority of vegans are sick. They eat a lot of processed meat replacements, a lot of processed foods, which have, in order to create the taste of the meat substitute, the even the candy or the marshmallow, they have to dump probably 10 times more ingredients and coloring just to get the same texture of a regular marshmallow. So, for vegans who are not necessarily health conscious or do not know the difference, remember, a lot of people think that once you cut out meat, you automatically become healthier, and that's not always the case, right? Because there's a lot of processed food in the vegan diet and a lot of hybrid and GMO plants that can hurt the body over time. So that's one thing. The second thing is, even where you are a whole food, plant based eater, the majority of people are deficient in nutrition because of our, going back to stress, because of our lifestyle. So for me, I was wearing all these hats, and I was dealing with my father, who was a diabetic, who was just, his health was deteriorating rapidly. We were very close. He lost his leg. I had to be traveling from different parishes to care for him. So even though I wasn't a junk food vegan, I found myself descending into certain habits and ways of being that were not serving me. So when I had to stay up all night with my father in the hospital, show up to court the next morning, then come and check on my restaurant, I needed a coffee. I needed something to keep going. Now, caffeine is not good for the womb. So I would grab a coffee on the way in from St. Anne to Kingston. Then I would forget to nourish myself with the proper green juices. So even though I am vegan, I would just grab whatever was available, which was not necessarily nutrient rich. You understand? Because even though you might not be eating junk food, it doesn't mean you're eating all the foods that you need. So, for example, let me give you an example of that. If, for example, you eat nothing but salads, right? You're a vegan who eat nothing but salads. Are you consuming enough sea vegetables that will make your thyroid function properly? A lot of vegans are iodine deficient. So it doesn't mean, you see, this is the judgment part that we come into. You could be a whole food, alkaline, plant based eater, but you're not consuming all the things that you need. You might not be consuming all the iron that your body requires, because we need a lot of iron. So you might be drinking banana blueberry smoothies every day, but what about the iron, sis? What about the callaloo? What about the dandelion? So you could still be deficient, you see. So whereas I agree that all these things, dairy, meat, caffeine, sugar, all of these things should be eradicated from your diet, if you're serious about removing your fibroids naturally. The message is, do not allow this to be a false sense of comfort. Don't allow this to be a crutch. That alone won't do. You need to address, as you said before, as above, so below. And if you're not dealing with your stress, if you're not dealing with your trauma in a real way, then the food is only going to go so far. Yes. And which leads nicely into what you said. I don't believe that there are any other group of women on this planet that has had the particular history of traumatic experience that black women have had. And I'm talking about slavery.
Not has had,
Yes.
not has had, because that is
Yes.
past tense.
Yes.
Still
Absolutely.
have.
Yes. 100%. And we know that we pass on, we hold within us the ovaries and the cells in our wombs that we pass on to our daughters and granddaughters. So when you look at, for example, the man that they have labeled the father of gynecology, and your viewers should Google him if they are not aware of him, Dr. Marian Sims, SIMMS, who is dubbed the father of gynecology to this day. One of the ways that he gained his expertise.
When you said his name just now,
Yeah,
all of the
yeah,
hair on my hand stood up because I
yes.
am I am aware of the history of Dr. Sims.
And every black woman should be aware of him, because we were literally used as live guinea pigs without anesthesia, no painkiller, no consent, right? He was operating, opening black women up on the table raw with sharp tools, and creating the legacy that now says that we have a higher tolerance for pain. We have a higher tolerance for trauma because we survived. That's the only reason. Because we had the audacity to survive such a barbaric and horrific experience. But you see, we have to look at what survival means. Because if you are walking dead, if you are alive but you're not living, you're sick, you're traumatized, you're depressed, did we really survive it? You see? And this is the same institution, because we can't just look at Marian Sims as an individual. This is an gynecology, and the practice of gynecology has become an institution. It's a philosophy. It's a way of looking at the woman's body. It's a way of looking at the black female body that persists to this day. That's why Serena Williams, the one of the richest black women on the planet, could have had issues giving birth and still felt like she was sidelined, that she wasn't given due attention when she said she was in pain, because it's a philosophy that comes behind it. And that is why they're so dismissive of your pain. They're so dismissive of you removing your wound, because that's the genesis of it, is barbarism and misogyny and misogynoir, to be specific.
Agreed, 100%. And like I said, I continue to think that Black women are the most disenfranchised group of people on the planet. I believe it. Disenfranchised economically, disenfranchised where it comes to services, mental health services, physical health services, a variety of other services. I feel like we are the most disenfranchised group.
You know, something happened to me the other day. Things can be hidden in plain view. So I was just browsing the history of the Nation of Islam in America. And Elijah Muhammad, the leader, the original founder, when he first wrote his message, the book was called Message to the Black Man. And it never hit me before. That message to the black man. So what that signaled for me in a real harsh way was that despite all of what we went through, slavery and, segregation, all of that, colonization, right? America, Africa, Caribbean, the movements all across these regions to so-called liberate black people did not factor in the woman. It didn't, and it's sad because even if you look at the Black Panther Party, the majority of its members were women. And in modern times, we keep hearing this mantra that black masculinity is under attack. Black boys are under attack. We are always hyper focused on the male. Not to say that they should be dismissed, but it's like a kind of con, because as you said in the beginning, most black women feel this heavy burden, this heavy responsibility for our race, holding the black family together, representing black people. We feel this heavy burden, but we are not giving due regard and due respect to our own burden. And no one helps us carry that. We have to carry it ourselves, you see? And so you may have heard the terminology that came out of a lot of civil rights writing that's called the nigger's nigger. So the black man is a nigger and the black woman is the nigger's nigger. Because when you are oppressed in a society, typically what happens, just like with molestation, hurt people. You have to find a lesser, so-called lesser being to take out your frustrations on. And that has been, unfortunately, the role that black women have found themselves in. And we've been in many ways duped into thinking that our struggles are lesser than. And at the risk of sounding like a feminist, which I am not, I'm going to say that it's quite clear that there is no attack on masculinity, because masculinity is not important for the race to survive. There is an attack on the black womb. There can be no manhood without the black womb, because the greatest prophet, the strongest leader, has to walk through the canals of a womb. He has to come through a vagina. And if there are no black women, if there are more black women getting hysterectomies, having less and less children, then what do you think is going to happen to black masculinity? So-called black manhood that is under threat, right? So we get hyper focused on protect the boys, protect black manhood, but nobody's talking about fibroids. I don't hear these black male leaders talking about this, what can be described as nothing else but a crisis among black women, and I'm not just talking about, fertility, the pain. Black women are in physical pain from fibroids. We are shamed because, listen, when I was going through at the time of my cycle, the bathroom was like a crime scene. I had a lot of anxiety surrounding just my period, which came every month. I had to be wearing multiple sanitary napkins. I had to wear specific clothing. I was nervous about sitting in people's chairs. I felt extremely self conscious, and yet we're expected to show up as mothers, leaders, business people, professionals, whilst in pain, whilst bleeding profusely, whilst suffering from depression, because a fibroid sucks the living life out of you, right? Whilst being expected to be feminine, cater to your man, look good, look fit, fine, and friendly. And if you dare fall off, you know, Oh, black women have attitude. You have a big rock, a big tumor in your testicles walking around and bleeding from your penis for 10 days straight. Tell me if you wouldn't have an attitude. The lack of empathy that we have in our community for each other is astounding. And there is a saying, I believe it's by Zora Neale Hurston. Forgive me if I'm butchering her name, but that famous black female author. It says, if you are silent about your pain, they will kill you and tell the world that you enjoyed it. So these these discussions are very important. We don't have the luxury of being ashamed. I certainly don't. I don't have the luxury of being ashamed. I don't care what people say about whether it's a fertility issue or whatever, because I have women in my inbox telling me that their 8-year-old black daughter have fibroids. Yeah, it's a serious, serious issue.
8 years old?
8 years old, right? There's a woman, 25, who just had a hysterectomy. Doctor pressured her into a hysterectomy. And as you mentioned earlier, one of the hats I wear, I'm an attorney, and I always explain to women, even when you go and you sign up to get a myomectomy to remove your fibroid, you're still going to have to sign to say that if the doctors go in whilst you're under anesthesia and they decide for whatever reason, maybe it's the most common reason is that the woman starts to bleed profusely, and they decide that they have to take evasive measure to save your life, you have to authorize them prior to that procedure to remove your womb if it becomes necessary. So a lot of women don't understand the power that they're giving up when they opt for a surgical procedure as opposed to the natural route. Natural route is not easy, but you have to understand what options you're choosing, be very aware of the risk, and take the decision accordingly. It's not as simple as a lot of people are. Oh, you just go and you just get it removed and life goes on. It's not as simple. In any case, whether you remove the fibroid or you remove your entire womb, it's not a cakewalk for the vast majority of women. And we need to talk more about that.
Yeah, yeah. That's where I'm going to take the discussion next, but I'm going to take a moment to go over to the chat section. I don't want the queens to think I'm ignoring you. I'm so caught up in what Keisha is saying here because she's literally blowing my mind. 8 years old with a fibroid? Because what? We'll get back to that. But let me look at the chat section for a moment and highlight one or two of the comments. Ladies, I'm not going to be able to highlight every single comment, so please don't come for me. I am going to pull up one or two, okay? I'm showing this one because I think it is important to highlight that fibroids can literally kill you. Okay? Literally. So, for those of you who are sitting there thinking, because I know there are some women out there who are sitting there thinking, I have fibroids, but I'm not even going to bother with any of this because I know people who just live with their fibroids and it doesn't do anything. Let me tell you something. Fibroids can quite literally kill you. Now, I highlighted this comment while making this point because Monique is saying here, mine gave me a slight heart attack. The fibroid that was sitting in her womb gave her a mild heart attack, and we are grateful that it was just a mild heart attack. Grateful that we still have Monique here with us. It gave her a slight heart attack because her blood level was so low. Why was her blood level so low? Because of how much she was bleeding every month. It literally started to deplete her blood count and impacted her heart. So this isn't a joke, ladies.
I want to add that when I was first diagnosed with fibroid, it was like 1.5 centimeter, tiny, tiny, tiny. And I was very active, very fit, as I said before, plant based. And it stayed small for years. And the doctors were like, leave it alone. And it didn't balloon until I began to go under extreme stress. You see? So for me, my regret is that I wish I had taken it serious, even when it was 1.52 centimeters. And so I co-sign what you said. Don't take them things light. They will
Yeah.
grow overnight.
Yes. Yep. They will grow as if it's a baby you're growing, except that it's not a baby. And speaking of babies, speaking of babies, one of the listeners, greetings, Natasha. I see you. Thank you for joining. One of the ladies is sharing an experience similar to the one you described, where people were repeatedly asking her if she's pregnant constantly, and the fact that it became a real burden for her. And I was shocked when you said that you just started to tell people, yes, you were pregnant. How did you manage to pull off that? Because then what in the end people would have been looking for a baby.
You know, I don't have an answer for it except to say that I was so burdened. I was so sad. I didn't know what else to say. It's like I needed to have spoken to you. I needed a therapy session with you during that period because I just didn't know how else to deal with it. Remember, I was in customer service. So it was literally like 20 people a day congratulating me on my baby and want to go into conversation. How far are you? Is it a boy? Is it your first? Is it your second? Sometimes the easiest way was to just say, because the minute you say, no, I'm not pregnant, really? What is that then? I couldn't emotionally bear doing that a dozen times a day. It was just too much. And then at one point I started to say, I'm not discussing that with you. Please don't ask me that. And people would get so offended. People would get like they had a right to know. Listen, it's crazy.
I am so sorry you went through that. I really am. I'm sitting here and I am envisioning. That is traumatic. That is traumatic. That I hope you eventually did get a therapy session and deal with that.
My therapy came through sharing myself with other women. It freed me because it was like, look, this is it. I don't care what you think. This is what I was going through. Here are my pictures when I was going through it. Yeah, you may have seen me and thought I was pregnant, but I wasn't. Yes, I may have said I was pregnant, but I wasn't. I was traumatized. I was sick. I was depressed. And I'm here to help others know. So that is what I use as my way of healing. And to give women that voice, because one of the things I am very serious about is berating people who do that. Stop asking women if they're pregnant. Just leave women alone. Just leave us. If you don't know, listen. I could be fat. Maybe I eat a lot that day. Maybe I have maybe I'm shape bad or whatever. Maybe I just had an abortion. Maybe I just had a miscarriage. It's such an insensitive thing for so many reasons.
It's a
Maybe,
violation, is what it
yeah,
is.
maybe I'm pregnant. I am pregnant, but I'm planning on getting rid and on having an abortion. Maybe I'm going through a separation with my partner and I'm planning on terminating the pregnancy and I don't want to discuss it. Do not ask women if they're pregnant. Just don't. Just don't. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to pull up one more comment and then we're going to go into the part of the conversation that I know everybody's waiting for. They want to know what to do about the fibroids. That's what everybody wants to know. They were like, okay, thank you. Now please tell me how to get rid of it, right? But I'm going to pull up one more comment. This, I have got to pull this one up. This is profound. This is from Aisha. Aisha says, stress is a key factor in both sets of fibroids my body developed. I had a myomectomy in 2014 to remove 9 and was in a horribly stressful job at the time. 4 years later, fibroids returned, 3 of them under the condition of extreme stress. And Aisha is one of the queens who is very, very close to my heart. She is like my sister. So I pause after reading this because I this is personal for me because I know her story. But this is what women are going through.
And I'm glad. Thank you so much, Aisha, for sharing that, because that's, of course, the other aspect of it, that they do return after surgery in, a significant amount of times. They do return. And I want to share a story that's kind of scary too. A lady reached out to me who had a hysterectomy. But what she did was that she left her ovaries intact. Do you know that they discovered a massive fibroid on her ovary? So she's devastated, she's depressed because she did not want to have a hysterectomy, but she was told that that was the only way she would be fibroid free. Only to now know that she has a massive fibroid growing on her ovary.
Wait, hold on there, Keisha. Just hold on a minute. Hold on. I need a moment. I need a moment, Keisha, because
Listen,
what you said just now.
yeah, massive fibroid growing on her ovary.
So fibroids can grow outside
Yeah,
of the womb.
yeah, right around that area. They are they're like parasites. That's what they are. That's what they are, in truth. That's the best way to describe them. So I'm so glad Aisha raised that point because Bob Marley's the line from Bob Marley's song is very important here when he says, "You're running and you're running and you're running away, but you can't run away from yourself. There is no quick fix. There is no one pill you're gonna pop. There is no magical juice or herb you're gonna blend up and drink and it's gonna disappear. You have to deal with your overall holistic state of health. It's a must. That's the starting point. And there are specific things, but I really need to drive home that point. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I will say, for example, okay, do this juice fast. These are the juices I recommend. These are the herbs I recommend. And a woman will do it for 30 days and she'll notice results. But then she says, "Oh, well, it's shrinking now." And she starts to go back to her old habits. And then she gets frustrated. Then she starts to say, "You see, I knew natural remedies don't work." Right? Or she continues, but she stays in an abusive relationship. I can't tell you how many women have told me that their fibroids shrank when they left their partners. That's probably for another show. But there are quite lots of women.
That's sounding like a part two.
Yeah.
That's not like a part two, Keisha. Just move past that.
And it's not just fibroids. Women who have left stressful environments, stressful work environments, notice that their periods get shorter, that they're no longer bloated. There's so many things that the womb, tells us, look, I'm not comfortable, I'm not happy,
Yeah. The
right?
blood
And
pressure regulates. They stop getting headaches. I could keep going.
yeah.
Don't ask
So
me how I know.
So let's talk about the ways to heal your fibroid. The first thing I tell women is take an inventory of your life, a full inventory. And when I say a full inventory, I mean as detailed as you possibly can, from the crown of your head to the bottom of your feet. When I say crown of your head, you might be thinking, okay, so we know that relaxers can have an impact on the growth and development of fibroids. But it's not just relaxers. A lot of products that even are promoted in the natural hair community, they contain ingredients that promote the growth of tumors, right? Even hair dye for women who may wear extensions or wigs. Look at the glues that you're putting on your scalp. Your scalp is, it's a serious part of your body. And if you look at the way these glues are cheaply manufactured, mass manufactured, coming from places like China, and sorry to say, a lot of industries where they have little to no respect or regard for black people, they are not putting in the kind of care, and they don't have to, because there's no one regulating it. No one regulates these things that we use. And black women are the largest consumers of these cosmetics, of course, because we are told that we are the least desirable. So that leads into a cycle of us buying the most things, trying to beautify ourselves when we're already the most beautiful. So starting from that, the glues you put on your scalp, the gels you put on your scalp, hair colors, even the hair itself, the glue, your lash glue, your makeup. You see, one of the things we don't understand, things seem harmless. It's the little things. In Jamaica, we have a saying that says, every mickle make a muckle, or one cocoa full basket. So there are things in your lifestyle, just like the plant-based people, just like the women who are super fit that are still struggling with fibroids. There might be tiny things that you are doing in your daily lifestyle that you may have been doing for years, that you are overlooking. That when you start to take inventory of your life, you realize just how toxic they are. Your foundation, your your clothing. Yes, there are materials that, if you and websites that if you go on their website, they have a disclaimer talking about how it can affect reproductive health. A lot of these fast fashion websites, the materials are not good. Yes. What are you putting on your skin, your lotions, your body washes? We need to start investing in things that are natural and that are going to help us to heal, right? Natural essential oils like lavender, tea tree oil, things that the womb loves, rosemary, sea moss, bladderwrack seaweed. Yes, there are companies that produce products with these things. You may have to search for them. They may not be advertised with a face that look like yours. Because believe me, these white people and other races are doing research about the benefits of these things. So there's a company called the Seaweed Bath Company that's made everything from their body washes to lotions to their shampoos. It's made strictly from bladderwrack seaweed. It's a very powerful seaweed, and it detoxes the body and the skin, right? So where we are over here using cheaper things that's being pushed on us, like Pantene, and things that we see, oil of Olay, even Dove, that's being pushed on us. In other demographics, they don't use them. They sell them to us, but they don't use them. And they have their little cliques and their little naturalist cliques and their little farmers market and all of these things. And they're very well aware of how toxic these things are. So it's incumbent upon you to do your research and to be as thorough as possible. Okay, so after we move into beauty care and self-care, we have to talk about our physical environment. A lot of these plugins that are toxic. A lot of these candles are toxic. Aerosols, the things that we put in our cars, a lot of them eat away at us over time, right? And remember, something like iron, for example, if your body is deficient in iron, you are less able to fight off disease. And the problem with iron in a lot of cases, it's not simply about what you intake, it's also down to your ability to absorb. And so many of us have difficulty in absorbing iron and absorbing minerals because our body is so toxic, right? So that's a part of it. We have to take stock of our physical environment. Don't just leave it up to what's trendy, what's easy, what's cheap. If you're struggling with fibroid and you're seriously committed to getting rid of them naturally, I'm telling you, it's gonna be simple, but it ain't gonna be easy. You're gonna have to make an overhaul of your body. And then of course we go into what we consume: dairy, meats, these things that are high in estrogen, right? And it's not unknown that the meat and dairy that we consume today is not the same that our grandmothers was consuming, you know. So it's even more important for us to eradicate these things from our diet because they're heavily contaminated. The cows, instead of being allowed to graze naturally on grass, the vast majority of them are grazing on corn and soy. These are grains that are heavily genetically modified and they are estrogen rich. So even if we talk about the stress and trauma that affects tumor growth in our body, like our own stress and trauma, we have to understand too that we absorb secondhand stress and trauma from the animals that we consume because of how they're raised, how they're live. They themselves live in a high stress environment, right? So animals are smart. They're aware of when their young is taken from them. They're aware of the process of being slaughtered. And if you constantly consume stress, death, animals that are overworked, you are what you eat. There's no going around it. You are what you eat. So your focus really what you want to be focused on hydrating alkaline fruits and vegetables, and to a lesser extent, grains. There are some grains that are high in estrogen, and you want to eat those a little sparingly. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you move your body. Don't be stagnant. The skin, in many ways, is like our third kidney. You release toxins through sweat, so you can move your body more and more. Not just more as in, because I see a lot of women posting videos with their trainers training them like they're going to fight a war. You don't need to do all of that. It looks nice on Instagram, but you don't need to do all of that. Okay? You want to focus on quality, not quantity. So things like yoga that focuses on stretching out your uterus, your womb, your hip, flexible, making sure your body is flexible, making sure that your colon, you have enough movement, you don't have stagnation. There are simple movements that can encourage the circulation of oxygen in your body, depending on it. You might be struggling with anemia, for example. So getting oxygen to circulate and flow through your body. Simple things like walking. Park your car and go for a walk, right? Take the steps. It doesn't mean that you have to invest in an expensive gym membership. You don't have to become a power lifter. You don't have to become a marathon runner. You want to move your body in a sensible way that's going to help you oxygenate, release toxins, and to release endorphins to make you smile, laugh. So I'm talking things like dancing, whatever it is you enjoy. Do that. Do more of that. Yes. And we talk about the stress. I have a video that a lot of on TikTok that had a lot of interesting comments, because one of the things I said was, sometimes the toxic person is you. One of the things we do as women is we like to meddle and insert ourselves in other people's affairs. We like to take on things without being asked. We take on additional burdens. We want to micromanage our families or friends, when sometimes we just need to butt out. Okay. And I understand a lot of women do that because they think they're going to be rewarded with appreciation, with love, with respect. But do that for yourself first. Sometimes the best things you can do for yourself is to say, no, I will not partake. No, I don't have space on my calendar for that. You got this. I'll leave you to it. Sometimes we have to do that to lessen our load. Let children be children. Let them mess up the house. You know, there's no point in constantly running behind. Stop searching your man's phone. Stop. I'm sorry. Stop searching his phone.
I
Stop being
talk
a
the things.
stop being a spy. You're not a spy. Focus on your own healing. Focus on you. Don't be male centered. Stop worshiping the phallus. You are the center of your universe. Focus on that. Everything else will follow. So gently taking stock of your life, nurturing your body diligently, consistently back to health with some of these basic things. Herbs that you want in your arsenal as a woman: red raspberry leaf, nettle leaf, milk thistle, dandelion, right? These are some things you need in your arsenal. Chasteberry leaf, or as they call it, vitex, right? Iron rich herbs. You want to purge your body of parasites. The colon is next to the womb. You can't clean up your kitchen and leave your living room messy. The filth is going to overflow. So if we're serious about healing our wombs, we have to clean our colon. So whilst you're getting rid of some of the processed foods and the meats and dairies, you have to do a parasite cleanse. You have cloves, you have oil of oregano, you have wormwood, you have black walnut, you have cerasee. Yes, even ginger. These are at-home remedies that we can use to to lessen the parasite load, to make sure you're going frequently, that your colon is not backed up with mucus and filth, or else it's gonna hinder you. So it's a lot. I mean, I did write a little ebook on the 10 steps I used, um, and all of that is in there. But overall, it's if I could use two words to describe it, or three words, radical, is radical self care. You have to embark upon radical self care. Who you talk to, who you let in your space, how you function in your relationships, what you eat, what you put on your body, what you allow in your space, what you read, what you consume through your television, all of that. Radical self care. That's the way to heal fibroids.
Okay, let's take some questions. There are questions in the chat section. Let's take on a few of the questions, because you just preached a whole sermon, right? So I'm going to pull up a few of the questions that I am seeing. First one from Shacia. Shacia says, what about vaccines? Can they negatively impact your hormone levels?
I'm of the view that they can, and there have been enough cases to show that they can and do affect hormones in women. In Jamaica, for example, there was quite a few cases of women that reported heavy bleeding, and in some cases miscarriages and irregular periods. So I definitely think vaccines can impact your hormones. It's not to say that it's the end of the world for you if you chose to get your vaccine, But what it will mean is that you may have to become even more vigilant in the additional hormones that you expose yourself to. So you just have to be more careful, more mindful of what you do and what you eat. It's not a death sentence, but you just have to take it a little bit more seriously.
Okay. Next question. A lot of people are typing this question. Several persons. How can we get your ebook?
Wow.
I'm just going to
So,
plug in my PC, so don't mind if you see me disappear
no
for a
problem,
second.
no problem. Thanks, Aisha. So, the link to get my ebook, it's linked in the bios of my social media pages. So if you go to Instagram and you type in Happy Womb Club and you go to the bio, you click the link, it's there. You can also go to TikTok, same story. Just go to the top of the page, you'll see a link, click it, and it will take you to where my fibroid ebook is.
All right, very good. Happy Womb Club. That is the name of Keisha's platform, the Happy Womb Club. No, there's no there. It's
No,
just
just happy, happy.
Happy Womb Club.
And if you have any difficulty, because I know some people don't use social media, you can email me directly, happywombclub@gmail.com.
Okay. All right. I'm going back for an earlier question. This is the last one I will pull up. I'm going back for this question because I myself was floored by what you said, and I would really be interested in hearing what you have to say about this question. 8-year-old girl with fibroid. Is it a generational trauma passed down? That's a big question.
It is a big question, but I'm going to be frank with you. The way we ate growing up was not as good as the way my grandmother ate. But even worse is the way our children are eating now. So, for example, in Jamaica, there is mango season. Are everywhere, and yet you will routinely see school children consuming snacks that are imported from the US, made with things like yellow number 5, yellow number 6, red dye number 40. These things are exploding on the market, and children are being fed these things from a very young age. When we were growing up, there was still some pride being taken into making fresh juices from scratch for children. We didn't have a lot of the American ways of eating, which is like cereal for breakfast, Fruit Loops, stuff like that. The FDA, for example, so a lot of the foods that are consumed in America are banned in other countries. If you look at a snack like Skittles, where the red color in Skittles is from red dye number 40. In UK, for example, um, that chemical is banned. So they use things like beetroot or annatto to color food, which are natural plant, right? So as much as trauma is relevant, we can't overlook how children are being fed and what children are being fed. You know, fast food. How many children are being fed home cooked meals compared to 30 years ago? How many children are active riding bikes as opposed to sitting in front of a tablet or a phone? You see? So I do believe there can be some element of generational trauma, but I would first look at the natural things, the things that are right in front of us, which is what we're feeding our children. Listen, I was appalled when I started to look into baby formula and children cough syrup to see that oftentimes the second or third ingredients were things like soy lecithin, high fructose corn syrup. literally second or third ingredients. Children are born from toddler stage feeding on garbage, feeding on soy, feeding on corn. These things are highly estrogenic. So it's really not a surprise, and we're going to see more children with fibroids, in my opinion.
Whew. Okay, next question. I'm not going to say the things that are going through my mind. We don't have time for that. Another question. This one is from Chantel. Would you choose honey pot sanitary products or do you have a better option? I am not even familiar with honey pot.
Yeah, I've used Honey Pot before. I had a good experience with them. There is another brand though that I can't remember. It's a brand from out of Sweden. I'm so sorry I can't remember the name. It's hard to get, but sometimes you see it in the healthier stores in Jamaica. But yeah, Honey Pot is a pretty good brand. I've used their stuff.
Okay. Joyanne says, can you speak some more about dandelion, please? I began drinking dandelion leaf tea for about a month now. Had excessive bleeding with my periods this week. Large, excessive clots that sent me to the hospital. Could that be the cause? The doc said to stop using it.
Well, as a rule of thumb, if you have a severe reaction like that, doesn't matter what you're taking, I would pause. I would put a serious pause on it because I'm sorry, not sure what happened. I'm not hearing you.
We lost you for a few
Oh,
seconds. Okay,
I'm
you're
sorry.
back. It's okay. The internet doesn't want you to say the things, but we're going to
Right?
say them.
No, but if you have a reaction like that to anything, pause. It may not be it, but it could be dandelion in combination with something else that you're doing. It could be that you're experiencing a cleansing period. Because sometimes after you take a lot of these herbs, some women go through what is called a cleansing period. So that their first cycle after that detox is extremely intense because it's flushing out a lot of the built up mucus and backed up stuff. So it could be that. But in any case, if you have that severe reaction, stop what you're doing immediately. And I tell women this all the time. You can heal your fibroids by just consuming fresh fruits and salads. Herbs will supercharge your efforts, but it's not a must. You don't have to be stressing yourself about getting exotic herbs. You can just gently cleanse yourself with blueberries, grapes with seeds, watermelon juice, cucumber juice, fresh hydrating fruit, right? And there's we mention castor oil packs? Castor oil packs are so good. Placing castor oil on the tummy and adding heat for multiple days out of the week, except when you're on your period, that's really gonna go a long way to help you shrink your fibroids as well and to remove some of the congestion in the womb. So definitely, if you're having that reaction, look at what else you are consuming during that period. Give it a break. Of course, doctors are gonna tell you not to use it because, of course, they're anti-bush medicine. So it may or may not be, but to be on the side of caution, I would cease using it and just go back to gently
Okay, it seems like Keisha's connection is having some issues. Let's give her a couple of seconds. see if we are able to get her back. Okay, I think we are getting her back. Let's give her a couple seconds, folks. I'm going to try to get as many of your questions answered as we possibly can. If I do not get to you, please don't kill me. Okay, so we got Keisha back. Keisha, I
I'm so
suspect
sorry.
there is some kind of conspiracy afoot.
Yes, attack on the room. But I think
Yes.
it's my Wi-Fi. But I just came off the Wi-Fi. I'm on data now, so
Okay.
hopefully it won't happen again. I'm so sorry.
All right. No problem. Um, let's see if we can pull up. I'm going to try to pull up as many of these questions as I'm able to. Um, Emerald is asking, is Happy Womb Club on Facebook? I think the answer to that is no, is it?
Um, if there is, it's an inactive page. I just used it for to automate my posts. So it exists, but I don't post on it. The place where you're gonna find me is TikTok, Instagram, or email me directly, happywombclub@gmail.com.
Okay. And folks, I encourage you, go to the TikTok page. I'm so serious. Even if you're not on TikTok, open a TikTok account. You don't have to post anything. Just open a TikTok account just so that you can go to Happy Womb Club. The TikTok page for Happy Womb Club is listen. There is a wealth of information on that. You need to go there. That's all I'm going to say. Get into it.
Thank
Get
you,
into it.
thank you so much.
Okay. Let's see here. Someone here is making a recommendation for a page where women can find all natural sanitary products. She says, check out Women's Haven page on Facebook. Women's Haven. Thank you, Adelia, for that recommendation. So the ladies can check that out. All right, here we go. Tara. Tara says you spoke about hair dyes, wigs, etc. Would braids also cause fibroids?
It can, because it depends on the synthetic material that they're using. Again, remember the source of these synthetic hair. They're coming from places. I mean, I've been to China. I've been to China and see them trying to find my tail. So you have to understand, if even if you live in a country where you interact with these persons who manufacture these things. I don't know what it's like in the US, but Chinese restaurants, Chinese wholesales, there is an attitude of disrespect towards black people in general. So um, that cheap synthetic hair extension that you're using for braids, and listen, I love braids like any other woman. I love braids are beautiful, but just be mindful of the source. Be mindful that not all that glitters is gold. And what I did, let me tell you what I did. When I started to detox fully, I stopped going to the hair. I stopped braiding my hair. Period. I just learned to nourish my hair and nourish my scalp, and just let my hair breathe. That's what I did. It might not work for everyone, but that's what I did. I just gave it a break. I gave putting acrylic on my nails a break. I just wanted to give my body every chance, every opportunity to heal. So you may want to consider that too.
Okay. Aisha just posted a comment that has me laughing. Aisha says, honey pot is good, but Lord, too much peppermint in them.
A true, them burn me up, burn up my pum pum.
I am
Why them put so much? Aisha, why them put so much peppermint?
I know. I've never used it. I don't know, but what it literally burning you.
It tingly, man. But it doesn't last. It doesn't.
That is hilarious. Oh gosh. Wow. Okay,
It's
now
true.
I.
Too good for true, man. It's true.
Oh
But
gosh.
I find in my experience, it fades after a while. But it was unnecessary. Too harsh, man.
Wow. Okay, I will not be buying any honey pot sanitary napkins. Thank you for that information.
No, I think they have different ones. They have different herbal combinations. Now, not not all of them have peppermint.
Wow. I can imagine. Okay. All right. Moving on. Raquel's question is, what do you think about fertility after 40? Having no children, should you be worried? Ooh, this is a bombastic question. Big
Should
one.
I be worried personally, or should
Should I
women?
be worried? Should we all be worried? Because,
Listen, a happy, healthy womb will do what it's designed to do.
Hmm,
And the idea that 40 is old, we have to get away from that. There are women in the countryside, in the Caribbean and in Africa, that are having children up into their 50s and 60s. Sometimes the reason why they stop getting pregnant have nothing to do with them. It's because the man stopped firing. His man is firing blanks, right? But there are a lot of women who conceive naturally and with no issues at an so-called advanced age. You see, we have to start to reject a lot of the things that we're told. If we're going to really heal on a mental and spiritual level, some of the things that we're told about age and fertility, we're going to have to start to reject them and research for ourselves. If you keep your body at a highly electrical state, highly alkaline state, where your iron is up to par, your minerals are up to par, then there's no reason why you won't be able to conceive naturally. I wouldn't worry about it. If that's your goal, I wouldn't worry about it.
right. Raquel, I am speaking babies into your life. Plenty babies. Okay, maybe not plenty. As many as you would like to have. I'm speaking that over you.
Start to see your womb as a place of nesting
Yes.
and start to create a place for a baby. So you start to tell yourself that it's like you're making a cot for your baby. It can't have any tumors, it can't have any parasites, it can't have any blockages. We need all the space for the baby to grow and thrive. Keep
Right.
that in mind. What would my baby need? Well, my baby needs iron. My baby would like some green juice. My baby would like some antioxidants from berries. My baby definitely doesn't want sugar. Start to think along those lines and just lovingly and nurturingly prepare your womb for his or her arrival. And it will happen.
Or there.
Or their
Maybe
arrival.
she might have
Exactly.
twins.
Exactly. Exactly. Why not?
All right. Okay, let's see. Any more questions? Um, oh, another question from Raquel. Good question. How long did it take to heal your
1 year.
fibroids?
1 year. And thank you for that question, Raquel, because the quick fix thing, it's not gonna happen. So a lot of women, as I said before, they get discouraged because they're thinking they're gonna do a 21-day juice cleanse. You will see results, but if you want permanent, long-lasting results, you have to commit to at the very least, it's unlikely that it will be under 90 days. Most women don't start to see significant change until the 90-day mark, until the third month. So the first couple weeks or first 3 weeks, you will notice that your bloating will decrease, your period might be better, your cramping might be better. You will notice differences, but the real magic happens in month 3. So you have to hold on until then and try to be consistent. Even if you have a bad day where you go and grab a donut, don't let that continue into the following days. Pick up back, get back into your routine, and keep going.
All right. Excellent. Listen, this conversation about the honeypot sanitary napkins is still going on in the chat section, you know.
What are they saying?
Aisha says, Frenna had me tiptoeing for at least 15 minutes. I am so done with y'all. Oh my goodness. Yes, I'm so done. All right, let me see if there are any other questions. No, I think that is pretty much it. I don't see any other questions. Although Aisha is amazed. Not amazed. Sorry, she's saying 1 year to heal a 40 centimeter fibroid isn't long at all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad you said that, Aisha, because so many people, when they hear a year, they're like, a year? A year? And you know, part of that reaction is steeped in the fact of how we view wellness. Because traditionally, you go to the doctor and he says, take these pills for 2 weeks and then you can return to your regular lifestyle. No, it doesn't work that way. So a lot of women, they see it as a death sentence, so they want to know, or a sentence, so they want to know how much time they have to serve, so they'll only serve this prison sentence for 3 months and then they'll be out. But it doesn't work that way, because if you think that you can clean up your body and then jump back into chicken and waffles and chips and all of this sugar the next day, your body is going to tell you something else. You might be in pain. It's not going to react very well. So it's about changing your lifestyle. It's about revamping, reconfiguring. It's not about a cleanse or a detox. I host group fasts every month, group fruit fasts, where I invite women to come along with me. We have a private WhatsApp group, um, and try to guide them. But the idea is not for them to do it just for the month. It's to give them the tools and the information and the guidance for that 30 days so that they can pick up and continue it for as long as they need to, right? It's not a detox, it's not a cleanse, it's a new approach to your life and your healing.
Right. I think I want to do one of
Yeah,
those
you should
fasts.
come on the October group.
I need to. And October is my birthday. That's a
Oh,
good time for me
fantastic,
to do it.
fantastic.
Birthday detox. Um, oh, Adelia says, I'm interested in the WhatsApp group. See, I'm not the only one. And there is a question here. Do you do consultation services to help persons?
I do offer one-on-one consultation. So you can either use the same link that we spoke about before or just email me directly. happywombclub@gmail.com. Because, and I'm glad you asked that, because I'm a big proponent of the fact that each woman's fibroid is different. So there are commonalities in the approach, but for example, a lady reached out to me telling me how much I've helped her, just from my videos on TikTok, and the number one thing for her was that she just resigned her job. She said no. She said her job was so stressful. She said she watched one video in particular where I was talking about stress, and she said, this job is not gonna take me out. She said she didn't know for sure how she was going to make financial ends meet, but she eventually figured it out. And she started out with 3 5 centimeter fibroids, and on her last ultrasound she only has one, which is 3 centimeters. So she's doing very well. The doctor is very impressed. She's been fruit fasting as well, and she's been using the castor oil packs. But for her, her main thing And she did this in 2.5 months, by the way, because her job was such a major part of why she had fibroids. Major, major. So it's good to have that one-on-one experience so that, to hear what things are in your life that you might need to tweak specific to you. So feel free to email me if that's
Right.
something that you're interested in.
Can you tell me what the email is again? I'm going to type it into the chat section.
Sure. It's Happy Womb Club, which is all one word, all
Mm-hmm.
lowercase, Happy Womb Club at gmail.com.
Okay. I just posted it in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
Happywomb at gmail.com.
Right, right.
Okay. One final question. This is the last question, ladies. Just putting that out there. Okay. This is the last question I'm going to pull up, and then we're going to start winding up because we are not going past the top of the hour. We are already at 7:45. So let's get this one last question in. What is a good ovarian reserve? Ooh, that's an interesting
You
question.
know,
Oh,
you know, um, I get this question a lot, but it's very good to know. There are herbs that are specific to nourishing the ovaries, and one of them that I think women underuse because it's so common is red raspberry leaf. That should be your best friend. Red raspberry leaf, every woman should have that in their arsenal. It's going to help you with keeping your ovaries intact. It's going to help you have healthy, thriving eggs. You need to have um, that, as well as your sea vegetables. So, your sea moss, your bladderwrack, your kelp. Those are the things that are going to nourish your ovarian system. Not here.
I'm trying to do 100 things here at the same
Oh,
time. But yeah, so I was putting the social media um, platforms for Happy Womb Club into the chat section as well, so people know where you can be found on social media, Instagram and TikTok. And I see Saran is helping me. Thank you, Saran. Saran is helping me post the handles. Good. All right, perfect. Okay, so let's wind this discussion up. This has been absolutely fantastic. I cannot thank you enough. Let me get in my thank yous now. I cannot thank you enough. One of the things that I love to say on this platform is that I do not take people's time for granted. I consider time the most precious gift that anybody can give me. I know there are 100 other things you could probably be doing on this Sunday afternoon, and you have decided to be here. We do not take it for granted. I don't. And I'm sure none of the people who are watching us on 3 platforms across the internet right now are taking it for granted. I truly appreciate you sitting here with me for this podcast this afternoon. This is one for the books. Really. This is one for the books.
well,
Truly,
you
truly
are
good.
you are absolutely welcome. It's my pleasure. I'm so glad that you invited me. It's my honor to be here. It's not a burden at all. It's an absolute honor, and I feel privileged to have been invited by you. So thank you.
All right. Yes. And you will be hearing from us. I'm sure lots of these ladies are going to be bombarding you with emails
Oh, great.
because we're all going to be juice fasting.
I
I see,
welcome. I welcome it.
yes, I see lots of juice fasting coming up. All right. So, what is the final parting shot What's the takeaway that you want to give our listeners today? Final message, last word.
When they said that the oldest profession in the world is prostitution, they weren't talking about you. They weren't talking about the original melanated woman. The first profession in the world was a farmer, and the farmer was the healer. The farmer is the one who picked the healing herbs, the healing plants, forage them for the family. The woman, the feminine divine, it is your birthright to heal yourself and heal others. That is your superpower. You can heal yourself naturally. Your womb is not a playground for doctors. It's not a playground for pharmaceuticals. And the more you get tapped into your body, your self love, your self care, you will realize that the tools that you needed to heal yourself have always been with you. You just need to tap into it and use it. And I'm here to help if you think you need to.
All right. And on that note, thank you to all of the listeners, the silent viewers, because I know that there are hundreds of you. Silent viewers who never say anything in the chat section, they don't post comments, they don't post questions, but I know you're there. I see you. And so I want to acknowledge you. Thank you for your continued support of this podcast. Thank you for your continued support of the Always a Queen, the Metamorphosis platform, because there wouldn't be a platform without the followers.
Right.
So thank you. I appreciate every last one of you for being here with us today. I want to wish you all a good Sunday night. Whatever else you plan to do today, be safe. And if you can't be safe, what's the other thing?
Be good.
Don't do it. If you can't be safe, don't do whatever it is. I'm not going to say what people usually say. All right. So, on that note, I leave you all with love and light. Take good care of yourselves, ladies. Go follow Keisha on Happy Womb Club. Do the juice fast and all of the other things. And finally,
Oh, wait,
remember,
ladies,
oh,
let me just, before you quickly, the September fast is closed, but I'm going to put the link for the October fast tonight. If you're interested, you can start planning and building up, um, you know, your nerve from now. But I've closed the September fast link, but you can definitely join me for the October. So I'll post the link tonight for the October fast.
all right. Perfect. The link is going to be posted on the TikTok page and the Instagram
Yes,
page,
ma'am.
correct?
Yes.
All right. Very good. So there you have it. My final parting shot, queens and kings, is that you remember to be a beautiful week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.